Anthony Accatatta, shipfitter, second class. In January of 1963, the ship departed for a Caribbean cruise, starting with a port call in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and then from there to Ponce, Puerto Rico, which is on the south side of the island. While in Ponce, on Sunday, the 27th of January, the Harwood was moored to the pier for recreational facilities. In early afternoon, the quarterdeck was informed that the coastal freighter, the William Johnson, a general cargo ship of 1,700 tons, out of Nassau, Bahamas, was entering port with her ensign flying upside down. This is a distress signal, and it also was requesting aid. The ship was rapidly flooding the forward cargo hold. The Harwood's damage control party, which I was part of, was called away to render assistance. The ship was flooding at a rate of 300 gallons per minute through a rusted out seam in the forward cargo hold. It was a Sunday, and we were basically relaxing around the ship. We were in undress whites, which is a white t-shirt and white pants, and we were just enjoying the nice weather in Puerto Rico. And then the general quarters was sounded, and they told the damage control party to meet up at the quarterdeck, and that was the extent of what we knew we were getting into. When we got to the quarterdeck, the officer of the deck informed us that the ship was coming in, and to get damage control equipment, to get the damage control party out to the pier, they were going to direct the ship to dock right behind the Harwood, and that we were to lend assistance and try to stop the flooding and make any temporary repairs that were possible. We had pumps on board that were called P250s. That meant that it could pump 250 gallons a minute. We also had eductors that basically we pumped water into these devices. If we pumped in 200 gallons a minute, it would cause a suction, and 400 gallons a minute would come out. So we had put the P250 in place, we put the eductor in place. We also carried various tools. We carried wooden wedges, wooden plugs, and emergency lighting, because we didn't know whether the lights would be working on board the craft. And we went over there, jumped aboard the ship, went into the cargo hold, talked to the captain. He told us what was going on, and we proceeded. As soon as we got into the compartment, the water was about 2 feet deep, and we had to find the leak. Unfortunately, there was cement bags throughout it, so we had to move the cement bags in order to get to the leak. And what it was a very old ship, and it basically rusted through the port side of the ship, and we would take wooden wedges, which was the first line of defense beside the pumping, and we would take these wooden wedges and drive them into the cracks that were there. And it wasn't really a crack, it was just a rusted piece of metal, really. It was very, very thin. And as we drove the wooden wedges in it, the crack just got bigger and bigger. But we continued to drive wedges in. We didn't do any plugs, because they're more for like a circular hole if there was a pipe or something that was leaking. But after driving a bunch of wedges, what happens, the water swells the wood, and then they finally jam into the crack, and then the water stops. And we continued pumping throughout the night, and the captain called his company, and we said, you know, you need to either beach it or you need to get into a shipyard. He called his company, and they said, sail for Barbados, you got to deliver the cargo. And so that was his instructions, and that's what he did. And at that point in time, we said, what could we do better to get this guy to stay afloat? And concrete will harden underwater. And so we said, can we use some of that cement and mix it up, and we'll be able to pack it around where the leaks are and where the plugs are. It will help hold the plug in and also restrict the amount of water that will come in. Won't stop it, but it'll restrict it to a minimum amount that you should be able to sail to a safe location and get a proper repair done. I mean, you just think about what's happening, and you know, we were trained to do this on the damage control party, and they send us to training schools. One was in Philadelphia, where they have compartments constructed the same way the ship is constructed, with multiple decks, and they can flood these things, and they'll get you in there and flood it right up to about your neck before, if you can't stop the leak, that's when they stop flooding the thing. So it was almost like we were running another drill. Down in the Caribbean, there's a lot of ships. They call them tramp steamers. They just go from port to port, and they have no real schedule. They'll go to a port, deliver a cargo, see what else they could pick up to take to another port. And it was rusted. It looked like it was in poor shape, and it was one of these things we don't know what we're in for on this one. It wasn't like it was a Navy ship that's well maintained, but we were able to do it, and we also made the 6 o'clock news in Jacksonville. Well, before that, we came out of that ship and we were a mess. I mean, we were dressed in whites, and we were soaked with dirty water, and basically we threw those uniforms away because we didn't think that we'd ever get them clean. When we saw the ship departing, we were still concerned because we would like to have seen him beach it or get to a local shipyard and get the proper repairs. But these local companies act as getting to the next port is the most important thing, and they don't have the concern that we would have in the United States for the people that are serving on board their ships. We really didn't think that much about it. You know, we weren't patting each other on the back or anything like that. And it was a surprise to us when we saw the newspaper clipping several months later and found out that it was on the 6 o'clock news. It was nice to put into practice what we were taught.